everyone and welcome to this week's Middlegame strategy. This is Anna Rudolf, Miss Strategy. And if you remember, this is going to be not a lesson today, but a thematic tournament. If you are new here, then let me just tell you that a thematic tournament is a great way to practice what we have learned in the previous sessions. Our topic was
Hello everyone and welcome to this
King.
week's Middlegame strategy.
Let me just see if everything is going fine. Yeah, that was a pop-up. So I was just saying that the topic is attacking the Uncastled King. We have covered it in 3 sessions, and today we are going to practice it from one of the positions that you have already seen, that you have studied, so you should be familiar with the position. Premium players can play, everybody can watch, so stay here for the show and make sure to join the tournament before then 10 past 6, so you have 8 minutes left to join the tournament. I think there's a link in the chat here on Chess24 where you can click and sign up for the tournament. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and I think I will go straight ahead to the website and I will show you myself where can you sign up for the chess tournament, the strategy tournament, attacking the Uncastled King topic. I'll just see in the chat if everything is going fine. Hopefully yes, I don't see many people. Let me just say hi to everybody. Hi Simba, hi everyone, and yeah, you can write me in the chat anytime. I will try to keep up with all the messages. It's not so easy when someone is talking into the camera, but I'll try to read it as well. Let's see, as I said, the website and where you should sign up for the thematic tournament. I see a video of myself. I'm trying to pause it because it's not so funny when you're talking and at the same time you're watching your own YouTube video. So let me pause the video. Hi Don Martin, you're here as well. Hi Bene, hi everyone. Now I see people here in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. I hope that you signed up for the tournament already. I will check it right now on the website of Chess24. So let's go there. And I shall do it this way. I'm pretty clumsy, but hopefully now you see the website. Let me just double check. I might have done something weird. Am I on the website? Yeah, I am on the website. So here we are on Chess24. If you don't know how I got to this exact site, you type in chess24.com. And on Chess24, you click on play because we all want to play chess. We love playing chess and it's a great way to practice. So practice in our playing zone, and you can actually enroll in many tournaments, many thematic tournaments. My one is always about something that we have studied. Other thematic tournaments are about openings. So if you want to study an opening, just have a look at our list of thematic tournaments on openings, and also of course there are normal blitz tournaments, 3-minute, 5-minute blitz tournaments. You can see them here. And if you go down on the list, down, there it is, Miss Strategies Uncastled King Attack Thematic Tournament. That's a long title, did not fit, but that is the title. They're going to be 5-minute games and a custom position, as I said. So you either have white or black. One of the sides is going to be a pawn down but have the initiative, and the other player, as I said, material advantage but lacking development. So whether you are white or black, try to do your best. Try to remember what we have learned about attacking the Uncastled King. You know that first of all you should open up the position, try to open fives, lines, diagonals, anything you can in order to take advantage of the opponent's lack of development. Second, bring as many attacking pieces as possible. You need your whole army, you cannot attack with 1 or 2 pieces only. And third, and the most important, be quick, act as quickly as possible. You cannot give time to your opponent to finish development, so many times we will sacrifice a pawn or 2. Well, in the custom position you already sacrificed a pawn, but just remember that sometimes material doesn't matter that much. The most important is that you do everything quickly with a tempo. Keep the initiative going. So as I said, tempo could be that you have given a check, that you have developed a piece by attacking the opponent's piece, that you don't move your own piece more than once if it's not necessary. So try to stick to normal developing moves, and at the same time try to make the opponent suffer, try to make him not to develop, not being able to develop his pieces. So this is the most important. Be quick, don't give time to your opponent to finish development. And as black, try to do the opposite. Of course, you want to finish development and you want to win because you are a pawn up. There are only 3 minutes left, so you should enroll in the tournament already here on Chess24. I hope that everybody can see now where it is on Chess24, play tournament, and it's somewhere in the middle of the list. So just go down on the list among the many tournaments we have here on Chess24, the Blitz tournaments and the opening tournaments, and there you will see my strategies, Uncastled King, that thematic tournament. And while I'm waiting for people to sign up, because so far you guys are only 9 players, so I need more players here in my tournament, because we have had 3 sessions, and I think with in those 3 sessions we have covered this topic in very much depth with many model games, many impressive games, and I hope that you like those games and you want to practice what you have learned in those sessions. So come on guys, sign up here on Chess24, play tournaments. You only have 2.5 minutes left, so be quick. And while I'm waiting for you, I will just show this picture that you might have seen on my Facebook. It's an announcement I made today, and that is that I joined Team Judith Polgar's team for a very nice cause, which is the Global Chess Festival. And if you want to learn more about this initiative, then just Google Global Chess Festival or go to globalchessfestival.com. One of the nicest features I like about the initiative and the website is the chess map, because you can see yourself and other fellow chess fans on the map. So if you go to the map, you will see a diamond on Madrid, and that is where I am. I hope that I can see you guys too on the map. Now I cannot show it because I'm broadcasting, so just go to globalchessfestival.com and find out more about the chess map and how you can participate too. But I shall go back to the tournament side because there's only 1.5 minutes left. So 10 players so far. Let me see who is here. A shout out to Alikinin. Alikinin, yeah, I thought I was wrong, but Alikinin, Georgie Bell, Simba 7, Mang Florenza Becan, sorry, very long, Becana, Magin Florenza Becana from Spain, GM Rio del Ce. We also have John 25 here at the tournament. Then I see Chess Chimp from India, Bena009 from Austria, Don Martin from Germany, Aspet Borloo from Spain, and I haven't mentioned the countries of the first players, but I can see that Alakinin has a Spanish flag, and Georgie Bell is from Greece, Simba 7 from the Netherlands. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being so enthusiastic, always following my shows, participating in the thematic tournaments. In the summer we won't have many, so make sure that you join now, because in the summer, many of us, including me, go on holidays, so it's not so easy to make thematic tournaments every month. So this is your chance, the July thematic tournament right now, happening on chess24.com, 20 seconds left, so make sure you participate, that you join before the time is up. I'll see if there are any newcomers, new players, still 10 players. Well, that will mean, for those of you who are enrolled already, that it's not going to be that long. So if you are busy, it's a good chance to join the tournament, because I think it will be perhaps a 4-round event. And now I can see the pairings has already been published on Chess24. Let's start watching the games, because that's why you guys are here, those of you who are listening the show. John 25 is playing against Alekinin, 2 Spanish players, so I could comment on this in Spanish, but then the rest of the audience would not be happy. I will make this board smaller because I think it cannot be seen. Hopefully like this it's fine. Just let me know in the chat. So this is the custom position I chose from the Anish Giri game that we have studied, and Queen B1 was the game that happened in the game B5, and in this position I'm wondering if John 25 remembers what was the move that Anish Giri played, what was the idea behind Queen B1, and he did it. C4 is the idea, so that it cannot be captured with the B pawn because of Queen B7 winning the rook, and if D takes C4, then we can take on C4 either with the bishop or with the knight. You might remember which one is better. So it's not very recommended to capture this pawn on C4. Knight D7 is a good move because black is trying to finish development, although what would be even more important is to finish development on the king side, because you really want to castle and you you don't want to castle queenside, so you should try to develop the pieces on the king side in order to do something about this king on e8, which is going to be under the attack of white. Knight e5 is a move I like because it's centralizing the knight, and yeah, I'm logged in Skype. I'm not sure that was a good idea, but now you can see my contacts, why not? So unless my webcam is there. No matter, they are my Chess24 colleagues, so if you see people signing in, signing out, they are the people from the Hamburg studio of Chess24. Knight e5, as I was saying, is a good move. You centralize the knight, attacking the g4 bishop, and somehow black ignored the threat of knight takes g4 completely, and that bishop is hanging. So I'm very surprised that after knight e5, this knight was not captured on e5, and now this is a piece up as far as I can see, unless you have a trick, but I don't think so. h5, knight e5. In best case, you will take a pawn, but not a piece. So unfortunately for Alekinin, this is not going fine. Queen d6 was a blunder. Yeah, and yeah, now developing the pieces is too late with material disadvantage. I'm sorry for Alekinin. He might have not realized the threat, or yeah, something of that kind. Perhaps he had a phone call. Anything, any distraction can make you blunder. Now, Georgie Bell is playing against Chess Chipmunk, and here we see a very different approach, and that's why I chose this position, because Queen b1 is not the only good move. So you either play Queen b1, or you play Rook b1, or you play for e4, because you know that we should open the position. So you either play on the semi-open b file, or you want to open the e file by pushing e4. So that's the other option. Rook b1 is also a good move. The only thing is that after b5, black still manages to keep the position closed. We cannot go c4 because the bishop would be hanging on d3. That's the difference between Rook b1 and Queen b1. The queen on b1 looks clumsy, but it protects the bishop on d3. So after b5, h3 happened, and let me just see e4, very good. So Georgie Bell went for this other approach, opening the e file. Very good. Remember that white is a pawn down, but has the initiative and advantage in development. It's also many times a good idea not to exchange pieces, although here bishop f4 means that you need to lose a tempo, and after knight f6, black is about to castle. So actually Chess Chipmunk did a good job developing his pieces, so perhaps Georgie Bell's idea was good, but not fast enough. Still, after g4, the position is very sharp, so anything could happen. And let me just see what happened later, because they have made many moves, and I'm talking too much in detail about that position when this is the current position. Okay, let me just go through this one, because this is already the blunder moment. After knight c4, knight takes, d takes. This rook on c3 is trapped, unfortunately, for white. So no matter what, knight e5 comes. Actually, this was a very nice motive that black realized. Going knight a5 in order to place the knight on c4. That's a very nice outpost for the knight. So either this knight is eliminated, and then the d5 square is freed for the other knight, or you need to keep this knight alive. That means that this knight is annoying. It's a very annoying piece. It has a very nice outpost on c4. So yeah, here in order to avoid losing material, you would have had to move the queen, but this position is already not so nice for white. But after knight takes, d takes, this is going to be material down after knight d5. Unfortunately for white, and black has managed to castle and push b4. So Chess Chipmunk is doing very much fine in this position. Bene has won his game against Simba. What happened there, Simba? Let me see. You must have blundered something. Queen b1, Anish Giri's move, and after b5, c4. Well done, Bene, that you remember this idea. D takes c4 is not the best because it allows knight takes c4. This is a line that we have seen in the session, that white is winning in this position because the black queen is almost trapped. So if you go queen a4, then you lose material because of knight b6. If you go queen c3, then you lose your queen because of rook c1. So this position is winning for white. It's that easy, unfortunately, sometimes. Well, it's not easy, but after making the very best moves for white, black's position can collapse because of the lack of development. So it's much more dangerous not to develop your pieces, because white can just quickly win the game than to have a pawn up and try to win an endgame. So of course this position would be very nice for black if he could finish development just like this, but he cannot. So after b5, c4, d takes, knight takes, this position is lost for black. After c4, you shouldn't take the pawn. You should, in the next game, you should do something else. Bartel tried bishop takes f3. That's, for instance, an option. Anything that's not capturing the pawn on c4, because it only has white's idea. So very nice way of carrying this plan out. After b takes, knight takes c4, b takes c4, queen b7. This is the whole idea behind queen b1. And now if bishop takes f3, Bennett didn't even care about the rook because it's mating one with queen c8. Congratulations, Bennett. And don't worry, Simba, because this position is difficult to play with black if you cannot resist the temptation of not capturing the pawn. You are a pawn up, so don't worry about taking more material. Actually, c takes b5 or c takes d5 are both an option for white for the next move, but they are not so scary. So try to develop your pieces. Try to exchange pieces and develop pieces. You need to develop the knight and the f8 bishop somehow, as quickly as possible. So something like e6, developing the bishop, developing the knight, capturing on f3 in a moment. Let me see the other two games. It was the game between I can't see the full name like this. Florenza Vegana against Don Martin. That was a very long game too. Let me see how it began. Wow, you guys are so good. Such good students of my shows. You all remember queen b1? That's impressive. And bishop c8, that's a new defensive approach. We haven't discussed this. It looks to me very passive. But at the same time, I believe that Don Martin didn't want to go for the b5, c4 position. If you are scared of that, you can try bishop c8. Nobody said you cannot try other options. It just looks very passive because all the black pieces are on the back rank. The only piece that has moved is the queen in this position for black. That's not good news. So what happened here is that white has almost all his pieces developed and black is still struggling to finish development. That's not Don Martin's fault. The position was not easy, but he managed to castle. And at the same time, we see that white has closed the position. So the only reason I see for closing the position is that if we can trap the black queen. Because if this queen on a3 has no way back, if we could cover the a5 square, let's say with a bishop on c7, or with a knight on b3, but in that case the a4 square is there. If we could somehow trap this queen, then of course it all makes sense. But if not, then I wouldn't have gone for pushing c5 and such. That doesn't help you open the position. But let's see what happened in the game, because somehow white managed to have a queen up, and maybe he did win the queen. Why not bishop c7? It was not good enough. Then you're threatening rook b3, but rook b3, queen a4. Still not trapped, but almost trapped the queen. I would have played bishop c7, and even if bishop d8, there might be something there. The queen is just so weird on a3 that rook b3, queen a4, that position is not something that I would like to play with black. And actually, even if you don't win the queen, because you see that black has managed to place the queen on d8, it is still a position that's complicated. So I think white has at least compensation for the pawn, because thanks to this c5 pawn, I was criticizing this move because it was not opening the position. But that was in the position where we still had the black king in the middle of the board. After he castled and managed to at least put his king into safety, it's very nice to have a pawn on c5 because it makes the b7 pawn a backward pawn. So this pawn will always suffer, will always need the protection of other pieces. It's in a semi-open file and it's a target for white. So if you can double rooks on the b5, that's very nice too. A knight on a5. Anything that's going against the b7 pawn, which will be very difficult for black to protect. And what happened later on in the game, because many moves have happened, I'm not sure I would have pushed a5 though, because it gives the b5 square to the knight. So if you don't want the opponent to block the b file, you want the b file for your rooks as white, then don't push a5. Anyway, what happened later is that this queen and bishop battery on d3 and c2 is very nice, threatening mate on h7. And later, the position indeed has opened up, but there was this knight c3 somehow blundered by white. Oh well, this was a game where many things happened, and now with an exchange down, white has managed to win this game because, oh my god, queen takes h4. I'm so sorry for you, Don Martin. That pawn was protected. So black was doing very much fine in this game until he blundered his queen. This is an exchange up for black, but after queen takes h4. Ouch. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Don Martin. And well done, Florenza Becana, for trying, because even with an exchange down, you did not resign. You kept on playing, and of course you shouldn't resign. Just keep the spirit, keep the fighting spirit. I see that round 2 has begun already, so let's see the games, and I should see someone whom I haven't mentioned yet. If I could recall all the names I have said, I have seen a game by Alekinin, also Chess Chipmunk, Georgie Bell, and Simba, but well, at the same time, they are facing players that I haven't talked about. So let's see the game of Simba 7 first against Aspet Borleo. And this is queen b1, b5, h3, forcing the bishop to do something. And after bishop takes f3, g takes f3. I'm not sure g takes f3 is necessary. It's not bad. It's not like something wrong will happen to white after g takes. But I prefer to keep the king as safe and sound as possible. So if you can go knight takes f3, then just opt for it. And also the knight from f3 will be heading to e5. That's the other big advantage of capturing on f3 with the knight, that you will then place the knight on this beautiful central square on e5. So knight takes f3 is a move I do prefer, and not g takes. G takes, on the other hand, will support the center once you play e4, but as I said, I don't like doubling pawns or weakening my king. So yeah, let's see what happened in the game later. c4, very well played. Perhaps it was even better to play it before h3, but that's just for the next game. You're doing fine, Simba. I'm not criticizing your moves. I'm only giving options for future improvement. c4, e6, also well played by Aspert Borleo, because he wants to keep the position closed and open the diagonal for the bishop, because you want to finish development. So very well played. Here, knight d7. Yeah, that's logical too. Maybe I would have played bishop e7 first. I want to castle as quickly as possible. And after c takes b5, c takes b5, queen c2, it is very much seen that white wants to do something on the c file, but I'm not sure it's that dangerous. For instance, black could go bishop e7 here, and if queen c6, for instance, then you can already castle kingside, and as far as I can tell, everything is under control, everything is protected. So this is a position where it's true that white has managed to open a file, but luckily for black it's not the e file but the c file. So that's less dangerous than having the e file open towards a king that's on e8. Rook b1, I guess white wants to go rook b3 and then perhaps triple heavy pieces on the c file. Rook b3, rook c3 could be an idea. And I believe that white has compensation because of having the initiative, but this attack is not that dangerous anymore. So it's still a game, and of course any result can happen in this game. Anyone can win it or draw it. But perhaps black's defense is sufficient here. He has managed to castle, he has managed to develop his pieces, and now he is still a pawn up. So here it is white who should prove somehow that he has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. e4 is a move I like because you want to push e5 and grab this pawn on h7. And perhaps it was missed by, oh my god, what's happening, by Aspert, because he played bishop b4. That's a move I don't understand so much what was going on if white would have gone e5. Attacking the knight on f6 and then taking on h7. Now rook c8, but this will be captured with the queen, and that happened, so it's 2 rooks for the queen. And I'm not sure that this was such a good trade for black, but I also did not like knight b1. So after bishop b4 I would have gone e5, but anyway, it's a different story. And now after e5, well, actually this is winning a piece, so yeah, bishop b4 was a move I did not like. Knight b1 I was not sure about, but rook c8 is a move that has given white the initiative once again, and after capturing on c8 and now e5, white is winning unless there's some queen e1 and then some more tricks, checks, anything, but I can, as far as I can see, that's just one check. So I believe that Simba is doing fine, very much fine in this game. Let's see. Don Martin against John 25. Ooh, wow, what happened? Queen b1, b5. And knight e5, that's also a good move because you place the knight into center, attacking the g4 bishop, bishop h5, and now e4. Interesting. So you give the option to the opponent of playing f6, winning a piece. But as I said, sometimes material doesn't matter that much if you can open the position and attack the king of the opponent. So e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop takes b5. White is sacrificing everything. Don Martin, you are very brave. Bishop takes b5 check, a takes, queen takes, the king has to go to d8. This position looks very suspicious for black. So I think that was a good sacrifice. Let's see if there's more here than just checks with the queen. Queen b6, king c8, and now knight c6. Well, this is the position where you would really need to think, and in a blitz game it's not easy to think about this position, to calculate what's the best move. You could go like rook b1, you could play now knight c6 is an option too because it's hanging, but both pieces are hanging, so you cannot save the piece. Perhaps I would have played rook b1 and I want to go queen b7, but you need to calculate this position. And you have sacrificed the piece already, another will be taken. So unless white can give mate or win back a rook at least, he can lose this game. So yeah, the king is on c8, but if there's no perpetual check or something more than that, then black will be okay. Knight c6, the idea was that after capturing this, queen takes c6 is a check, but why do you need to take it? Okay, if f takes g5, queen d8, check, king b7, that looks very suspicious too, so perhaps knight c6 is a good move actually. I underestimated the idea of queen d8 check and then rook b1 coming with a check, so perhaps it's better than the move I suggested. Knight takes c6, queen takes, king d8, and now bishop f4, so this is only a piece down, and bishop c7 is a huge threat in this position. Rook c8 was played, queen b6, and now king e8. Rook b1 bringing on yet another piece, but now I'm not sure that rook b1 was the best. I wanted to go rook b1 before, but in this position, is this the best move or not? I would also like a rook on the e file, and I wish I could bring my knight very quickly towards the black king, like knight b3, knight c5 or such, but yeah, the knight is not the fastest piece on the chessboard, so it takes quite some tempi to activate the knight. Let's see what happened in the game because there are many options, and I'm afraid that in a blitz game we cannot find the best moves. Queen b4, e6. Perhaps it was not good to place the queen on b6 because e6 is a tempo, and after queen b3, knight e7. If black can manage to finish development and somehow shield his king, I think he could actually hide the king on f7. So you cannot castle, but the king will be okay on f7. And now, yeah, if you have to exchange queens, that means you are in trouble because when you are a piece down and you are attacking, you really don't want to exchange queens. But in this position, I think after rook b2, there's no attack anymore. Actually, already a few moves ago, black, I think, managed to play this e6. That's a good move. So perhaps queen b4 was not good, but maybe already before. Maybe rook b1 is too slow, but it's not easy. It's not a position that's easy to play in a blitz game, but Don Martin, you were very brave sacrificing material, and John 25, you were very persistent, trying to protect your king, trying to defend. So well done to both players. Let me see how the game between Georgie Bell and Bennett 009 have ended. This is the final position with the queen up for white. I want to see how they reached this position. It was queen e2, playing for e4. That's the other idea. As I said, you either open the e file or you play on the b file. f6, and after bishop f4, e6, c4. That's also good. So instead of e4, he goes for c4. No matter from where, but you need to open the position, and every one of you with the white pieces have done that. So I'm very proud of you guys. I'm very proud of you for remembering the main principles on how to attack the Uncastled King. So c4 is a very good move, and bishop d6 on the other hand by Bennett is also good because as a defender you want to develop your pieces and you want to exchange pieces, and he's doing both with one move. Bishop d6, c takes d5, c takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and then rook b1. So that's also a very nice move, developing the rook and at the same time attacking the b7 pawn. So it's a tempo. Black has to do something about the b pawn. b5 was played, and after h3 you should decide what to do with the bishop. knight b3. The knight is heading either towards a5 or to c5, and now rook c1. Well, I'm not sure that then this rook b1, rook c1 was that good, but anyway, it has weakened black's structure to some extent, and now the knight has a nice spot on c5. So this is already more of a positional way of playing this middle game, because yes, white is a pawn down, and he wanted to open the position. He has opened the c file, but we have seen already in previous games that the c file in itself is not winning the game. It's nice to have an open file for your pieces, for your heavy pieces, but when the king is on e8, the c file in itself will not win the game. I'm not saying it's bad to open the c file, but it's more of a strategic approach to have the c file, place a knight on c5. You're a pawn down, but even like this, it can compensate, especially if you have a pawn suddenly appearing on c5. Well, it's blocked, but the queen is not the best blockader, and after e4, the position opens up even more. d4 is a move I do like if it works. So now that the knight is pinned, and unless there's some g4 coming, I'm afraid there's g4. But if there was no g4, d4 would be a very nice move, because as black, you don't want the position to open up. So you either castle as quickly as possible. Maybe in this position you could try to castle already, unless there's something after e takes d5. Perhaps castle was fine here. d4, g4, it's true that it weakens the white king, but it will win the pawn on d4. So it is a move that I believe is a good move. Interesting though that after bishop f7, Georgie Bell didn't want to take the pawn on d4. Wow, you didn't want to win the pawn back. You wanted to attack even more, and e5 is actually perhaps an even stronger move, because the pawn is still hanging on d4. You might play bishop e4 at some point, and even if it's not winning material yet because of knight e5, it's just opening the e-file in itself is very nice, and placing a knight on e5 in case of f takes e5. So I believe that it's a good move. As black, I would have tried not to take this pawn, because I don't want to see a black knight. I don't want to see a white knight appearing on e5. So I don't know if it's too risky to castle here. Perhaps it is, but I would have tried to survive after castling. I might be wrong. This position is a position that I like more as white, especially now with the knight on e5. You have a pass pawn on c5, and bishop e4 is already winning material. So after knight e5, you should place the queen somewhere that's not in the long diagonal. Very well played, Georgie Bell. And Bennett, don't worry, this wasn't actually, you weren't handling the position badly. You were doing fine up until, I don't even know which move, but for a while black was doing fine. Maybe after knight c5 you shouldn't be worried about this knight that much. You could have castled in this position, because knight c5 is a beautiful knight, but it's not threatening that much. So in this position, if you castle, I don't think that white has that much. Of course, it's a position that is still unclear, but there's not much attack going on if you don't take this knight on c5 and step into the move with queen c6 to e4. I believe that after castle, black should be fine. And yeah, it's already round 3, and I see that Benne has finished his game once again already. Are you still with us, Benne? What happened in that game? Oh, ouch. Happens sometimes. We all blunder, so just keep the positive spirit. Don't turn down because of the defeats. We all lose games, we all make mistakes. Queen b1 was well played, and after b5, c4, just like Anish Giri did in his game against Mateusz Bartel. And bishop takes, knight takes f3. This is exactly how that game developed. e6, you are following that game, and knight e5, I believe is a good move. Unless there's something with f6, which would win a piece, but here you should calculate so many things. Either bishop takes h7, which happened in the game, or bishop g6 check also is a very tempting option. But in a blitz game, it's difficult to judge. You played bishop takes h7, and after f takes g5, I think that white is fine. It's a piece down, but you're entering the position with the queen g6 check, king e7, queen f7. Oh, you forgot about the queen on a3. Ouch. It happens sometimes, don't worry. It happened even to the very best players in the world. It happened to me many times. I'm not even among the very best players in the world, but I'm referring to world champions who have blundered in a similar way. So sometimes this chess blindness happens. It happens even on the very best level of chess, and it happens to us often, or at least more often than to those grandmasters. So yeah, this position I think is a very promising position. You have a very strong attack here. If you hadn't taken on f8 with the queen, I believe that you would have had a very good chance of winning this game, perhaps by playing bishop g6 and then queen e8, check, anything that is not queen takes f8. Yeah, I would have moved the bishop and then you threaten queen e8 or you threaten queen takes e6, then knight f7 check 2 is in the air. So this position is very dangerous for black. I think that white is doing fine here, more than fine. So I love the sacrifice. Keep this spirit, keep being brave. Just make sure that you take into account all the pieces of the opponent. And as Pit Bordeaux, from your side, of course, it's good that you've realized this opportunity. What else can I say? The position is not very good for black. Maybe for next time, just don't play f6 because it looks tempting. It looks like you are winning a piece. But here with the king on e8, actually white can sacrifice a piece. Everything in order to attack your king, and f6 weakens the black king. So don't do that. Try to develop your pieces with bishop e7, knight f6. Try to castle. What else happened? John 25 finished too, but I'm not talking about now the other players. So let me just first go to Chess Chipmunk against Alekinin. And this, what happened? Queen b1, bishop c8. I still believe it's too passive. I know you guys don't like that after b5, c4, you cannot take this pawn, but that bishop was already developed. I don't like going backwards with my pieces unless it's completely necessary. So bishop c8 is a move that I believe it's too passive. I would have avoided this move. And e4 on the other hand by Chess Chipmunk is a very good move, very active. You want to open the e file. Capture on d5 because of course we play e4, not because we want to push it further to e5, but because we want to take on d5, open as many files as possible. Knight b3, the knight is heading towards c5, I believe. Interesting, but maybe I would have tried opening even further. If you push c4 here, then you threaten c takes d5, and e takes d5 would mean that the black king is in trouble on the e file. Also you open the c file. So I believe that in this position the quickest move, and you should act quickly, is the move c4. That is something to have in mind for sure. You played c4 a move later, and it's not bad of course, but remember to be quick. So if you had played this move a move earlier, maybe black would have still continued with knight f6, but in that case you would have taken the knight and then captured on d5. So I believe that c4, a move earlier, was better, even better than this. And now after d takes, bishop takes, d5, imagine this position with the bishop on f8, so black would still struggle in order to finish development, in order to castle. And what happened here is that white will win back the pawn, but at the same time black has managed to castle, so he's giving back material for the sake of finishing development. And I think from black's point of view that's something very good, so very well done Alekinin for realizing that it's more important to castle than to keep resisting, to keep that pawn, the extra pawn that you had after bishop takes, f takes. Knight d4 is a move I like because if you want to capture this pawn, you can take it with the knight too, then it's even better. And after queen c3, knight takes, queen e1. Yeah, well, this is something that that is the disadvantage of knight d4. I was praising this move because I like the idea that you are bringing a new piece into the attack and you want to place your knight on e6, which will be a very active square for the knight, but at the same time there's this annoying diagonal, and yeah, I know that the rook is hanging on a1 and perhaps that's the only move in that case, but after knight d4, queen c3, oh, maybe you should then play queen e4 in this position and then capture the pawn on e6. So yes, knight d4 is good. You should close the diagonal of the bishop not to lose the a1 rook, but after queen c3, knight takes e6, it seems that queen takes e1 works, because if queen takes, then bishop takes. Black is doing fine, and if you move the queen, then black will sacrifice his queen for a second rook and then move his f8 rook. So it's two rooks for the queen. And in this position, it could be that the two rooks will be fine, unless you are winning the other rook. Now after knight c7, queen b6, knight c6. If there was no knight c6 on the board, it would have been very nice to trap the rook like this. But unfortunately, knight c6 works, and you don't have a bishop on f3 or on a4 to take this knight and then take the rook, unfortunately. But the idea was good. You guys both played a very interesting game, so well done to both of you. And the moment where I thought that it could have been better for white is that after queen c3, you go queen e4, threatening queen takes c6, then you can also go rook a c1 to move the rook away from this long diagonal. And also I would have played c4, a move earlier, just to make the attack as quickly as possible. What happened between Simba and Georgie Bear? How comes that the game has ended already? Simba, are you still with us? Maybe this connection. After queen b1, all I see is 0-1 without a move for black. What happened, guys? Tell me, please, what happened. I should open the chat actually from my phone, because now I cannot see the chat and I might have missed some questions. I'm sorry about that. When I see the website, I cannot see the chat at the same time, but luckily I have a phone too on which I can see my own show. It's nice to look up your own show on the phone. And yeah, let's see what happened, because it must be a disconnection. I don't think that yeah, there's just no other way. Player resigned, it says, but queen b1 and player resigned. Simba, you had to leave. Let's see the other games in the meantime. I haven't talked about GM Rio Delta in these last minutes, so let's see his game. It was queen b1, b5, c4, and after bishop takes, this is how. And the Anishgiri game went. Knight takes f3, very good. As I said, I do prefer that move. And now, yeah, it's true that on c4 we cannot take with the knight anymore, but the knight will jump to e5. So this is exactly how Anishgiri played that game. e6, rook c1 is also a good move, I believe, bringing the rook to the c5. I would have thought about knight e5 too, depending on if black can play f6 or not. Bishop e7, bishop f4. You don't want to exchange pieces, but now knight f6 and black will castle. So sometimes the problem with not, I know that I always say don't exchange pieces when you're attacking, but sometimes you have to, if not exchanging means losing tempo, losing time. If you go bishop f4, perhaps it's good, but you're losing time on playing bishop f4, and now black can go knight f6 and castle. So another way to play is to say that, okay, yeah, I would prefer not to exchange bishops, but here maybe I will have to. I don't know if you have a much better move. I wish I could play d5 at some point. And by some point I mean very soon, because I want to open the position. It's good to add, of course, always that b takes c4 is not working because of queen b7, the same idea. But of course black will not want to collaborate, he will not take the bishop. We want to play d5 at some point, or e5, d5, e4, d5. So if you have time for playing e4 now, maybe that could be an option. And what I'm saying is that you could actually wait for black to capture your bishop on g5 and then develop his knight. So you could try e4 in order to play d5 afterwards, or maybe it's too slow already. Anyway, bishop f4 is not the end of the world. Perhaps it's better than what I'm suggesting, because after knight f6, bishop d3 castle, black has managed to finish development. It's true that he has this weak pawn on c6, so most likely you will win back the pawn, because you have very active pieces. You have a semi-open c5 targeting the c6 pawn, and yeah, you have won the game already. So what am I talking about? In this position, it's I think very important to highlight that even when the opponent manages to castle, don't panic, because we are not saying that, oh, attacking the uncastled king, we know the principles, we will mate the king on e8. We try our best to mate the king in the center, but if the opponent castles, it doesn't mean that the game is over, it doesn't mean that you have done something wrong. Many times he will be able to castle, and what you will have for the sacrifice material, hopefully it's just a pawn or two, not an entire rook. If you have just a pawn down or 2 pawns down, but you have the initiative, you have a lot more active developed pieces, it means that you have compensation. So even after having seen that the opponent castles, just don't worry, you have a very good position. And I think GM Rio Derece demonstrated it because he won this game a few moves later. Let's see what happened. Bishop g5, very nice that he is building up an attack against the black king now on g8. So he's targeting the h7 square by attacking the defending piece, the f6 knight. Bishop g5 is a good move, and after h6 he captured, he eliminated the defender, and bishop takes f6, bishop h7 check, and here the king has to go to f8 because the f7 pawn would have been hanging. Now he played bishop e4, attacking this backward pawn with one more piece, queen d6, queen b2. How did the game end? Oh, blunders. Yeah, well, I think I've said it in previous thematic tournaments too, that I'm very happy when I see the principles that we have learned, that you remember them, that you remember the ideas, that you apply strategic plans, but just make sure that you don't give presents to your opponent. Don't give free pieces to the opponent, because the opponent will love it, the opponent will take it, and he will win the game because of the free material you give up. So c5 is a blunder. Just before each and every move of yours, even if it's a blitz, just try to see which white piece, if you are black here, which white piece controls what. And you see this monster on e4 on the long diagonal, and you know that the c6 pawn is pinned, so just make sure that you see not only where the pieces are, but what are the squares that those pieces control. What are those x-rays, what are those I don't even know what other name to give to it, those targets that these pieces can have. And then I think it will be less likely that you blunder. So first of all, you always ask whether the opponent has a threat, and if he doesn't, just make sure that you see all those x-rays that the pieces light. No, that doesn't make sense. Well, try to see it like a matrix, really. So this bishop on e4 is pointing at the AA square, pointing towards h7, pointing towards b1, and pointing towards g2 as well. So those are the diagonals that this bishop controls. Yeah, I don't think that concept was the best I could come up with, but if you like the movie Matrix, I have seen it and I pretty much liked it, then I think you know what I mean, or any other kind of laser light, is that a proper way for saying this? Anyway, just see what the pieces control and don't blunder pieces, because it can spoil the whole game, it can spoil all your effort. And this is round 4 with yeah, I see that Chess Chipmunk has finished his game already, 2 against Mac Florenza. I was trying to open the chat at the same time because I want to know what happened to Simba. Simba is so enthusiastic. He has been here, I think, at almost all the sessions we had, all the Middlegame shows. He participated also in the thematic tournaments, and I would like to know what happened. Maybe he had to leave, that he resigned his game. That's very strange. Let's see. From the phone, watch shows and my strategies, Middlegame show, that's my show. Here, started 49 minutes ago. And in the chat, I would like to see what happened to Simba. At the same time, I will go to the beginning of this game between Chess Chipmunk and Mac Florenza, so we can comment on what happened here. Queen b1, very good move, b5. And knight e5 is the other good move, of course, so you don't have to go for c4. It's not the only good move in the position. Knight e5 I also like, I already said that. Bishop d7, c4 still is very nice. Live chat is unavailable just now. Please try again later. Oh, that's new. That's new. So you guys also see the same, and you cannot talk to me, or it's just me that the chat is not loading. I hope that this is not true. This should work. Oh, now I see the chat. Okay, that was scary. Like, oh my god, the chat has disappeared. Something has gone wrong. GM Darius said congrats Aspet. Aspet says thanks. Second good, don't worry. Horrible tournament. And what happened to Simba? That I cannot see in the chat, so I cannot see that. And anyway, just please let me know in the chat if you know what happened to Simba, because I'm worried about him. Queen b1, b5, knight e5, bishop d7, c4 is what happened in Chipmunk's game against Mac Florenza. And f6, of course, is always the question, but here even knight takes d7 is possible if white is afraid of losing a piece. But bishop g6 is the move I like. And very well done, Chess Chipmunk, for being brave, going for it. And I think maybe it's not that much of a risk either, because after, if black captures the piece, h takes g6, queen takes g6 check, and after king d8, knight f7 wins the rook on h8. So you have not only destroyed the black defense, there's this king on d8 being under the attack of white, but also you're winning a rook. So that's good news when you sacrifice two pieces, because both of your bishops will be captured, but you take this rook on h8, then you play queen f7, both the bishop on f8 and the knight on g8 will be hanging, so that position is just horrible. So once again, all I can say is that for black, I know that it's tempting to win a piece, but f6, always remember that all the moves we make have advantages and disadvantages, and this move weakens the h5 e8 diagonal, and if a bishop or a queen can appear on that diagonal, that means problems, huge problems for your king. So don't weaken that diagonal, try to develop your pieces, play e6, play knight f6, try to develop the f8 bishop and try to castle, because in this position things will go wrong. Also, if the bishop is on d3 and the queen on b1, you might want to think about playing g6, bishop g7 and knight f6 in order to block that diagonal. That's another way of playing, because if you go here, knight f6, e6, developing the bishop and castle, white will just take your knight on f6 and then take the pawn on h7. So depending on the move order, you might want to go e6, bishop e7, chase the bishop away, then go knight f6, or you can also try g6 to block this diagonal. White has a very good compensation for the pawn. He has the initiative, so it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but f6, even though it's tempting, don't go for it. So what happened after f6 was bishop g6 and knight f7. So white is grabbing the knight. He even not grabbing with the knight the rook on h8, but he didn't care because this rook is trapped. So well done, Chess Chipmunk. You took on d5. Opening the c file, very well played. So yeah, the bishop was hanging on g5, but bishop f5, exchanging this defending piece, knight h6, and after bishop takes, knight takes h8. I think white is winning because he has won the material back, and at the same time the position is opening up. The c file will be opened and the black king should be in trouble. Queen takes h7. It's possible, but I'm not sure I would have played that. It might be good too, but I wanted to enter the position with queen c2 and queen c7 mate. Probably there's a defense, but I don't think that black can control all the time all the squares. Queen c2, queen d6 is the way to defend, but maybe in that case knight b3 and then knight a5 check. Yeah, that position looks very nice, but queen takes h7 also has its advantage, not only because of grabbing a pawn, but also your knight will manage to get out of the corner. So knight g6 will be played later on. So yeah, perhaps it was very well played. Knight b3 heading to a5 with the knight, or to c5. That's a very nice outpost for the knight. a4, once again trying to open the position even further. So very well played by Chess Chipmunk. And Mac Florenza, don't worry, it was not easy to deal with this position at all. I think the mistake was f6. All the games have finished, and I think we have our standings too. Sorry if I couldn't comment on all the games in every round. I tried to mention all the players. I hope I did a more or less decent job on talking about the games by all of you, because you guys are so enthusiastic. You have applied the principles we have studied together on attacking the Uncastled King. So I'm very proud of each and every one of you, regardless the results of today, because the results were depending on mistakes in 10-20 moves later, on blunders, on Simba, for instance, disappearing from the tournament. But even those of you who have lost games, remember that the position, first of all, with black was difficult. So losing with black was something that could happen. It happened to Grandmaster Bartel as well against Anish Giri. And secondly, just remember as well that this is a training tournament. We are here to practice what we have learned, because it's very nice to learn from the Middlegame shows and from video series, from all the material we have on Chess24. But unless you practice what you have learned, that knowledge will not become wisdom. So you need to practice in order to apply these principles, the ideas, everything that you have learned from our series, from our shows, in your own games. So when you play blitz games here on Chess24, or when you play chess tournaments in your club, a league, anything, in order to play your best chess, in order to improve your chess, and in order to apply everything that you have learned from the instructive videos, you need to practice, practice, and practice. So make sure that you play more games here in the play zone, more tournaments, more thematic tournaments. You can practice openings, as I said. So go for any openings that you are learning, any openings that you know. Practice those openings here in the thematic tournaments of the openings on Chess24. And also make sure that you don't get disappointed by the results, because this is a process. Learning is a long process. Many times you will even feel like you are playing worse than before. It has happened to me many times, actually. I don't know why I'm still speaking with this. Yeah, I should have mentioned the standings, and then I keep on chatting. I like talking, I think you have realized. So Chess Chipmunk has won the tournament with 3 points out of 4, together with Aspert Bordao. Congratulations to both of you, and also to Alekinin, Magna Forenza Vecana on 2.5 out of 4. And then we have on 50% GM Rio Delce and John 25, as well as Georgie Bell and Bennett 009. Don Martin has scored 1 point, and Simba somehow has disappeared, so he doesn't have any points, but he has played also very well, and he has applied many of the principles, the ideas that we have learned. So that's what I wanted to say about the tournament, that no matter on what position you finish, no matter how many points you scored, I'm still proud of you. I'm proud of every one of you, because you are here, because you are practicing, and that's the point. As I said, learning is a long process. Don't be disappointed by the result. We can always improve, and all the losses make us get better. So even if you feel disappointed after a loss in this tournament, or in general when you play in the play zone, when you play a tournament, just remember that each and every defeat shows you something that you can learn from. Learn that lesson, and improve with each and every mistake. Learn from each and every mistake and improve your chess based on the bad games. I think bad games and bad results are much more useful than good results. It's better to have something to improve from than believe that we are gods and we have no mistakes at all. So make sure that you keep on learning, you keep on practicing. I'm not sure I can see you next week, but we will have plenty of other shows. So just stay tuned for the announcements here on Chess24. I will probably be off to Andorra by Wednesday, because I'm going to play a tournament myself. And if you follow my tournament, if you want to see that I'm not just preaching and pretend that I don't make mistakes, I always win my games, it's not true. I'm sure that I will not win all my games in Andorra, but I'm also sure that I will enjoy playing all my games, whether I win those games or I lose those games. So just remember that this is a learning process. Enjoy playing no matter what the result is, and enjoy chess. It's a beautiful game. I will see you guys maybe next week, maybe not next week, but stay tuned and watch the other shows. Also, Miss Tactics will be back, and you have so many other Chess24 authors, so watch the shows page, stay tuned for the announcements, and have a lovely week. Remember to check out my new page, not only my page, but as I said, I'm collaborating with Judith Polgar in her Global Chess Festival, where the idea is that chess is a bond among all of us, and we want to show the world that this is a universal language, chess. It has many faces. It's not just a sport, it's not just a board game, it can be art, science, it can be an educational tool. So we first of all want to show that chess is much more than a sport, and secondly, we want all the people who love this game, like you, so all the chess fans around the world, we want to make them feel connected. We want to make you realize that we are a big community all around the world. So go to globalchessfestival.com if you also want to be on the chess map. As I said, I'm the little diamond on Madrid. That's where I am, and it's very hot here. So yeah, I think that was it for today from me. I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of the shows and have a very nice week. Bye bye.